This is the anatomy of our nervous system. So our nervous system compromises of the central nervous system, which is the brain and spinal cord. As you'll see here in pink, this is the brain, this is the spinal cord. And then you have the peripheral nervous system, which includes all of these yellow nerves here. So as you can see, there are a lot more nerves that are going into your body, and there's definitely a lot more in this picture. There is a lot more than what this picture is actually showing you, but you can see how the nervous system is also in our bodies. And this is going to be very important with what we're talking about in this video. And so we have the peripheral nervous system, which is compromised by the two parts, the autonomic nervous system, which is completely unconscious in nature, and then the somatic nervous system, which we have some conscious control over, but also has autonomic or unconscious processes. And so within the autonomic nervous system, you have the parasympathetic here and the sympathetic branch. And so let us have a deep dive with regards to what the autonomic nervous system is, because this is our internal surveillance system. This is our internal alarm. This is the part of our nervous system that perceives and assesses whether we are safe, in danger, or something is threatening our life. This is very, very important because this is how we manage stress within our bodies, and how we manage stress at this moment in time is due to the health of our autonomic nervous system. So again, we have the sympathetic and parasympathetic branch, and within the sympathetic branch, we know the fight or flight / flee response. This is the part of the nervous system that a lot of people know about. And this is the part where we know that when we're stressed out, we go into a fight or flight state. And more on this in a little bit. But let's go into the parasympathetic branch. Most people know the parasympathetic branch as this branch here, which is just one part of it, which is the ventral vagal state, where we feel regulated, when we can have social connections, and where we feel safe. This is where the rest and digest also occurs, which is really the optimal place for healing, recovery, reproduction, and all of these wonderful things. This is where we want to be. However, within the same parasympathetic branch is the dorsal vagal state, the state that not many people know about, or is a bit trickier to regulate out of, which is the dorsal vagal state. This is where the survival states of shutdown, freeze, and collapse happens. And so as humans, we have 3 lines of defenses. The first one is the ventral vagal state. The second is the fight or flight. And the third is shutdown or collapse. So for example, there is a threat. Maybe there is someone in your neighborhood that is stealing from cars, right? You get this text from your neighbor and saying, hey, our neighbor Jim from the other house just got robbed, like his car got robbed, and it sounds like this robber is still running around the neighborhood, right? And so the first line of defense, it's like, I am scared to have my car robbed, and I don't want my children to be exposed to this. So at first, we're going to go into our first line of defense, which is the ventral vagal state, and we will negotiate with either our colleagues, our neighbors, or for example, if that person were to step into our car and we see that they're in our car, we first say, hey, what are you doing? So it's more of that negotiable type of threat response, right? However, if that person isn't listening to you and they are continuing to rob your car, you might go into a fight response, and either you'll go after the person, depending on how confident you are or what your body wants to do at that moment in time. You might like take a baseball bat or something and run out and attempt to fight that person with a baseball bat who is robbing your car in your garage. Or you could be someone who is going to lock all the doors, just call the police and flight, right? Flee away from it, head on to safety because you don't want to deal with that shit. And so that could either be one of your responses, that will be your second line of response. And if all goes well, maybe the police come or you grab your baseball bat and the person runs away, the threat has passed, then eventually that mobilization energy comes to a halt because now you're perceiving, okay, I think it's safe. This person is no longer threatening, that they ran away or the police are here to take care of it. You will then start to discharge that energy, that stress response, and you go back to ventral vagal state. If for some reason that person has a gun, for example, and you have a baseball bat, and you don't realize that that person has a gun, you could either shut down, freeze, or collapse. You could either really start fighting it, and maybe if you're trying to fight the person and maybe you're like, oh fuck, I don't like they're pointing the gun at you, what do? Freeze, right? This is freeze. Or you can either shut down or just maybe hide in the corner and collapse and faint. And maybe that is just your nervous system's way of dealing with the situation of, oh shit, this person might shoot me, right? And so you go into this third line of defense where you're just freezing or collapsing. Or if maybe the cops haven't come and you're hiding in your house and now that person is trying to break into the house and you're maybe hiding in a closet or something, and you're either in the closet, you're either in freeze, hiding in the closet, you're not moving anything so that they don't hear you, so that they don't come after you, or you're like just shut down in the corner, making sure that you are not seen. This is a defense mechanism. Then that is how you would go into that response. You're not trying to run because you know then that the person has a weapon. And so you just shut down and freeze in a corner in lockdown, hoping that that person won't get you. So this is the third line of defense. This is very, very useful because in many ways, this state, even though the example I have is really, really extreme, a lot of the times our body will automatically go into these survival states, even though the threat isn't as intense as that robber. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anyone. Obviously I need an example as an extreme, but this could be just be something like, maybe it's a family member who is very difficult and you've tried to reason with them. They didn't reason. So sometimes we have an argument with them and get defensive. And over time, we argue and argue and argue with them. And at the same time, we've learned to be helpless and powerless and accept that, this person is always like this, right? So we give up, we shut down, and we dissociate whenever we talk to them because them being rude to us is just something that is too much or too stressful to handle. It could be any those two examples or far between that our nervous system interacts and perceives stress. So this is a video to really just give you this information to help you determine how and see for yourself where you're at in terms of how your nervous system works. I would love to know how useful this was, how not useful this was, what more information do you need, how you can apply this into your personal life, what other trainings you would want, because there's definitely more where that came from. Once we know our internal surveillance system and which states we are default in when we handle stress, we will have that power to bring ourselves back into the state of ventral vagal, which is where healing and recovery occurs. And this is where we prevent diseases and optimize our health from happening. Optimize our health and allow us to live longer because we are in a state of healing. And if we stay in these states, it is definitely not wrong to be in these states. As a matter of fact, our nervous system is designed to go into fight or flight. Our nervous system is designed to go into dorsal vagal shutdown, freeze, and collapse. It is more of our ability and awareness to make sure that we do not stay in these states for chronic periods of time, and we hang out more in the room of ventral vagal. So nervous system regulation is not about avoiding these states. It is about knowing that your body has automatically gone into sympathetic or dorsal vagal, and then recognizing that for yourself and saying, oh shit, I'm in dorsal vagal. I'm going to upregulate to go into the ventral vagal state. Or shit, I'm in sympathetic, I'm down regulate. It's all about knowing where you're at and bringing yourself back into a state of regulation, because neuroplasticity, this is where your nervous system starts to change. So instead of automatically going into fight or flight, you're going to realize that and you say, I'm going to be in fight or flight for a little bit. I'm going to down regulate because I no longer need to be in it. And this is a powerful thing, because then you don't get stuck, you don't get burnt out. You are living in an optimal place where your mind is so clear and you're making decisions based on what you truly want. You're truly connected to yourself, and you can be that person who really does good for others. So I hope this mini training helped. Let me know what helped and what you want more of. Any questions at all, let me know, and I will see you soon.